Hello, and welcome to Rhythm Exercise Group number one. Rhythm Exercise Group number one, obviously the first of many, is a unit that is just going to cover playing on the beat or resting on the beat. Each rhythm exercise group is going to cover a slightly different topic. And in this case, it's quarter notes and quarter rests. So that little box up in the right-hand corner of this first page is showing you the different graphic elements. But from the respect of rhythm, all we're doing is we're either going to clap on the beat or rest on the beat. And these first four rhythmic vocabulary exercises are very simple. They're intended to be simple so that regardless of how much previous experience you have with music, either formally or informally, and how much time you spent engaging with it, we can find a place of common ground to start with that we can then build off of. So with number one, we are literally just clapping on the first of every four counts. And if you see at the top of the page, it says to be performed at 84 beats per minute. And 84 beats per minute sounds like that. Now you might ask yourself, is that, well, I'm going to ask you, does that feel fast? Does it feel slow? And hopefully, as you listen, probably are going to go, well, it's not fast. I wouldn't call it fast, whatever that is, subjectively speaking. But it's not really slow either. It's kind of this Goldilocks tempo. It's not too hot. It's not too cold. And one of the things that's interesting about this speed that we're going to do all of this stuff is that I didn't want it to feel fast or slow. Fast and slow both imply a certain distance away from comfort. And in this case, because we're doing 84 beats per minute, this ties in very nicely with the other thing in life that is commonly measured in beats per minute, which is heart rate. So a resting heart rate is normally around this tempo. In between, if you're very athletic, it will be lower, but 70s, 80s, in that neighborhood. So it's not going to feel fast. It's not going to feel slow. This is also why when you get nervous or excited, that as your heart rate increases, things around you start to feel slower. Maybe perhaps you also get less patient with things. But and then as an artist who deals with doing things in time, either a musician or a dancer, you have to learn how to control and mitigate that reality of our biology as human beings. So what we're going to do is we're going to do number one, counting and clapping. Now that counting part is going to seem like, well, why should I bother? This is very easy. And if you look at it, like everything on this page is going to be relatively easy. Again, that's the point. But also, it's to make sure that if you're not comfortable clapping, I'm sorry, if you're not comfortable counting out loud, I want you to gain some comfort for two reasons. One, it helps engage your voice, which, as I'm going to talk about in a little bit, is very useful as a musician and someone who's interested in understanding music better. And two is that if and when you become a teacher of dance on your own, you're going to have to start becoming more and more confident with hearing yourself count and hearing yourself put those counts out there into the room. All of us, myself included as an accompanist, but you certainly as dancers, have encountered instructors who have such a command of timing and of the counts that it helps to give you a certain level of confidence in what they are doing and what you're going to be doing. And likewise, there are also instructors out there who are a little bit less confident with counts. Maybe they're unsure of tempo, and that influences how confident they are. But as a result, you have to find your confidence elsewhere. And my job here, I feel, as someone giving you rhythmic training to use within your dancing, is to help give you an internal confidence so that whatever the situation is, you feel like you can jump in and be more assertive with whatever you're about to do rhythmically. So turning the metronome on, 84 beats per minute, and we're just going to count out loud number one. And it's four measures, each four beats. Here we go. 1, 2, ready, go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Super simple. Now, before we go on to 2, 3, and 4, just want to make sure that you are remembering to keep your eye going across the page. Now, you might ask, well, it's the same thing. Why should I bother continuing to keep my eye on the page? Well, it's kind of the same thing as if you're learning how to read and you want to make sure that your eye is traveling across. It helps you to keep your place. It helps you to keep focus. And for the eventuality of, well, something is eventually going to be different. So get in the habit of looking ahead. And even though I've done this rhythm a million times, I wrote this book, I know exactly what's coming up, and I know why I wrote what I wrote. I'm still looking at it just as a habit. And so that's a really good habit to get into, mainly so that you don't get surprised at something coming down the road as we get involved in this. Let's do number 2. Here we go. So rest on 1, clap on 2. Still counting out loud, still using our voice. 1, 2, ready, go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, and let's go to number 3, which if you probably able to guess, we are going to clap on beat 3, the third beat of the measure. 1, 2, ready, go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Keep counting. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Good. Make sure that you're counting strong, counting with a little bit of a punchiness, right? So that it helps to indicate where the beat is. All right. And last, number 4. 1, 2, ready, go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Now we're going to go back through numbers 1 through 4, same tempo, 84 beats per minute. And we're going to add in, if you see there, movement exercise number 1. So we are going to, as I'm seated, I'm going to take a big old stomp on beat 1 of every measure, regardless of where the clap is. And this is just to get the beginnings of the separation between the meter, the recurring set of the strong 1, and then the other beats in between before you get to 1. You're used to a meter of 8. Musicians are more accustomed to a meter of 4 when they start off. And there's an article that I'm going to share with you guys about why that is. I have some theories about that, which I think you might find interesting. So we're separating rhythm, which is the activity, from the foundation, which is meter. So meter sets up a structure, and then we can build on top of it or not. Right? That's another way to think of it. Meter is the underlying foundation, and rhythm is what we build on the foundation. Here we go. We're going to stomp on beat 1 of every measure. Here we go. 1, 2, ready, go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. Next line. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Third line. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Fourth line. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right. So hopefully you were able to keep that stomp going on beat 1, and to develop a little bit of a comfort distinguishing the two, between what you're doing here and why, and what you're doing here and why, right? And keeping your counts going, keeping your rests separate from your notes. And now I'm using some terms: notes, rests, measures. All of that is further explained in previous pages in your book. So if you feel like I'm going a little fast on that, or you want to make sure that you understand, not just vaguely, but specifically, what I'm talking about, make sure that you go back over the other pages. And of course, you can rewatch the video and just examine again, make sure that you're not letting things slip through, so that on these fundamental first few concepts that we're talking about, that there isn't anything that you let slip that ends up being really important later. Because I will say that there's not a lot of extra I'm adding in right now. Everything is pretty fundamental and is going to be built upon as the rhythm exercise groups progress later on in the course. Now, let's go to number 6, etude. Etude just means study. It's French. It's the same language that all your ballet terminology uses. And whereas what we just did before might be considered exercises, simple, short, repetitive, predictable exercises. Etudes are applications of those ideas that are short and repeated. So if the ideas that we're working on now are clap on the beat or rest on the beat, then number 6 is just an application of that idea, clapping on beats, resting on the beats. But now we are not repeating things. We are having more of a through composed approach. Now, in order to make sure that everybody is getting on board and that we're not going too fast, we're going to do each line of number 6 separately. And then we're going to go back and string all of it together. We're going to do the first line of number 6. Again, all of this at 84 beats per minute. The first line of number 6, I'm going to count through the first time. The second time we do it, I'm going to want to make sure that you're counting, so I'm not going to count out loud. But all this stuff, until I say otherwise, and I'm probably not going to say otherwise, all this stuff, I want you to be using your voice, using your words, using your internal sound generation mechanism, your voice, to make sure that you're engaging here. First line of number 6. 1, 2, counting, clapping. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, without counts. Ready, go. You're counting, right? Second line with counts. Ready, go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Second line, you counting. Ready, go. Third line with counting. Ready, go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Do it again without counts. Ready, you count. 1. Last line. 2 with counting. Go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, 2, ready, count. Okay, now we're going to go through all of Etude 6 now, all 4 lines. I'm going to count the first measure of each line. And we're going to try and see if we can do that stomp. If you can't do it, if it messes you up, do it first without it, and then go back and see if you can add it back in. So you remember where this moment in the video is time-wise, and you can rewind it, come back to this. But we're going to do each line. I'm going to count only the first measure of each line as kind of a place marker. But I'm always going to be stomping. I'm going to pan the camera down a little bit so you can see my leg even better as I prep my my stomp. So we're doing the entire thing now. Each line here, I'm sure you noticed, has 4 measures. Each measure has 4 beats, 1, 2, 3, 4. So you could also say that each line has 2 8s, right? 4 4s or 2 8s, 16 counts. So the entirety of this is 64 counts long. For musicians, we would say it's 16 measures of 4. Dancers would call it 8 8s or 8 counts of 8. The terminology all gets at the same thing, which is that there's a cycle of strong and weak going on. Strong being one, and weak meaning everything else that is not as easily felt. Okay, 84 beats per minute, number 6. Here we go. Stomping on 1, counting out loud the whole time for you, part of the time for me. Here we go. 1, 2, ready, go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So hopefully you were successful there. If you feel a little tenuous there, go back, do it a couple more times. Now we just did 16 measures, and hopefully you felt pretty confident doing that. Hopefully you were able to keep your eye on the page. If you picture a bicycle, I always like to think of, don't look down at your feet. Don't look at the pedals when you're riding your bike. You got to look ahead a little bit to make sure you're not hitting a pothole or running into traffic, that sort of thing. Basically, don't get caught off guard. And so now another thing to look at. Now, this may or may not be helpful for you, but another thing to look for is, are there little miniature patterns, little miniature moments of semi-predictability within this? And I'll give you the answer there. There are. So if you're the type of person who likes to look for things like that as a way to help accompany their reading skills or to hear things differently, the meter doesn't change, but look at the first 5 measures. So the first line plus the first measure of the next line. And you'll notice that all of that is 4 notes and a rest, 4 notes and a rest, 4 notes and a rest, 4 notes and a rest. So 4 notes plus a rest is 5. So there's a little miniature 5-based pattern in there. And then the next 3 measures are 2 notes and a rest. So starting on the second line, second measure, 2 notes and a rest. So clap, clap, rest, clap, clap, rest, clap, clap, rest. Obviously, you could just keep doing it that way. And then the third line, at least the beginning of it, is a clap and 2 rests. Now, if that's confusing to you, don't worry about it. If that's interesting or helpful or useful for you, go ahead and look for those in future etudes, because I will tell you right now, they are going to be there. And it's just a way to generate things that have a little bit more of a flow and a system to them, rather than just giving you random claps or random rests. Okay, now number 7 we're going into is our first duet. And musically speaking, the way it's notated is what's called a score. A score is kind of like a blueprint for a building. It's a representation of everything that's going to be there, everything that's going to be in the music. But it, just like a blueprint isn't the building, the score isn't the music. The score is the instructions for the music. So as we do number 7, you'll notice that there are 2 players. Player 1 is the top on each pair of staves. Stave is the